Hello friends, hope you had a great week so far. Welcome to this week's episode of the Dirt Report, tech and health news from all around Australia with some international tidbits. It has been a strange couple of weeks. We've had two massive crypto crashes, one this morning. Twitch now has a dedicated hot tub category. Dating apps are encouraging users to get the jab with the promise of more matches. We'll talk about that. And Fisker is building an electric boatmobile, which we won't be talking about. You thought the world was wild already, well, it's only getting wilder. So in today's episode of What is Going On with the Tech World, we have a quick note about Telstra and their fine. ACMA is cracking down on Telstra, Optus and Aldi Mobile, and the ACCC wholesale NBN report for this quarter is out. Then on the international news, we have Google's Project Starline, Gartner's chip shortage prediction, and new badge for American dating app profiles. Thanks for jumping in. Make sure to tap the like button and subscribe to support us. Let's get started with rolling the intro. We spoke about Telstra taking advantage of Indigenous customers over the last few months, and finally the saga has come to a fitting conclusion. Telstra branded stores used unconscionable practices, as ACCC Chair Rod Sims said in the press release. To sell Telstra products to Indigenous customers, taking advantage of those people by manipulating credit assessments, misrepresenting products as free, exploiting social literacy and their limited use of the English language, all done openly and without regard. The Telstra board and senior executives failed to act quickly enough to stop these illegal practices when they were later alerted to them. The entirety of these incidents happened at Alice Springs, Casuarina and Palmerston in the NT, Arndale in South Australia and Broome here in WA. The ACCC started proceedings in November 2020, and almost 6 months later, Telstra has officially been fined $50 million. Quite the fine. In fact, it is the second largest fine to ever be handed down under the Australian consumer law. If you're wondering, Westpac paid $1.3 billion, making the second place fine for Telstra look like small change comparably. Westpac was fined for breaching the Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Terrorism Financial Act, all without the help of Bitcoin. In any case, hopefully Telstra has made some changes, but I expect the ACCC to watch them very closely for the next few years. Let's move on. Further to the ACCC taking Telstra down a notch, the ACMA is cracking down on not just Telstra, but Optus and Aldi Mobile over fears that they are not doing a good enough job in verifying customer identities and opening the door for identity theft. The Australian Communication and Media Authority has sent out formal notices to the Three Musketeers after it had found that they have failed to validate customer details when porting numbers across to their services. I have put the link below in the ACMA press release. The ACMA found that Telstra had breached the identity verification rules 52 times in 2020, Aldi Mobile 53 times, and unlucky for Optus, who got caught with only one breach. Now, the breaches were based on the early 2020 laws that forced telcos to have more rigorous customer verification processes, such as multi-factor authentication or in-person verification. Here is what ACMA Chair Narinder O'Loughlin had to say. Historically, it has been too easy to transfer phone numbers from one telco to another. All a scammer needed to hijack is a mobile number and access personal information like bank details was a name, address, and date of birth. These new rules help prevent scammers from taking control of people's identities to commit serious financial crimes. We are cracking down on telcos that don't follow the rules and leave customers vulnerable to identity theft. Now, identity theft has been a large thorn in the side of society, and as technology grows, so does the theft. What this law is trying to prevent is specifically identity theft through mobile numbers. It seems that on average, victims lose more than $10,000. However, after the loss of money, victims can spend years trying to gain control of their own identity. Since the new rules came into effect, reports of fraud have dropped dramatically. Telcos have reported that fraudulent porting has dropped by 90%, and some have said it has stopped entirely. So what's Telstra doing? The ACMA is actively monitoring industry compliance as part of its program to combat phone scams. Telcos that breach the rules could face civil penalties of up to $250,000. Let me know below if you've ever been a victim of a fraudulent mobile port. I'd love to know your story. Let's move on to our next story. The ACCC this week has released a new report based on the March 2021 wholesale market report. Based on the new incentives from NBN Co, the report shows that there has been a significant uptake of very high services in this quarter. The number of home smart 250 megabits down services increased from 11,136 in December 2020 to almost almost 490,000 in March 2021. Then the number of home ultrafast, which is the 500 to 1000 megabits down services, grew from 9,924 to almost 83,000 in the same period. However, the ACCC had to warn people of taking these promotions to heart, asking them to check how long the promotion will last for and if they can still afford the service at the end of the promo instead of then churning and running away to another provider who has another promotion. You see, this has been a very contentious issue as of the last few weeks in many telcos. They have voiced their disapproval when customers jump ship to other providers who have better deals during this promotional period. The problem stems from the current customers not being able to receive the same deals as new customers. So why wouldn't they jump ship if the service is exactly the same but a better price? The other warnings that the ACCC has handed down is in regards to RSPs having enough CVC to provide the service they advertise. A sudden influx of users could cause a lot of congestion, and you should remember that just because you jumped ship doesn't mean you'll get the same service. That's the reminder, even though you probably might. Interestingly enough, most of the ship jumping was done by Telstra customers who lost 0.4% in market share. Oh, poor Telstra. But if you look at the numbers, that's 0.4 is a lot. Let me know below if you've recently jumped across to another provider due to their new deal on high-speed internet. Let's board the Qantas plane to bankruptcy and crash land on international waters of tax havens. It's time for some international tidbits. Google's Project Starline is making waves on the internet, and for once Google almost feels like a positive force in the world. A glimmer of good, like Vader's last moments. While our NBN might not be able to handle this jandle, the premise is pretty darn cool. Google has created a communication station with a giant window-like glass that lets you look into a real room on the other side. Well, what's so special about that? Well, it lets you communicate with a life-sized, three-dimensional person on the other side, giving the effect of a genuine one-to-one conversation where you can talk naturally, gesture, and even make eye contact, which a lot of people don't tend to do apparently. This feels like a step just before holograms. Project Starline is currently available in just a few Google offices, so it's not like you're going to go out and get to play with it. And it relies on a custom-built hardware and highly specialized equipment. Of course it does. Behind the cool looking videos and pictures, Google has applied long-time research in computer vision, machine learning, spatial audio, and real-time compression so you can send that information over the internet quick enough to feel like it's instant. They have developed a breakthrough light field display system that creates a sense of volume and depth that can be experienced without the need for additional glasses or headsets. Almost like that old 3D Nintendo, where as long as you look at it from a certain angle, you can kind of see 3D images. Putting all this together, the effect creates the feeling of being right in front of the person you are speaking to, but maybe just through a little bit of a glass lens. Let me know your thoughts below. What could this be used for? Now let's move on to Gartner. If you're not aware who they are, Gartner is a global research and advisor firm providing information, advice, and tools for leaders in IT, finance, HR, customer service and support, communications, legal and compliance, marketing, sales, and supply chain functions. Yes, they do a lot. Translation, they have their fingers in a lot of pies. Gartner has put out a report discussing the worldwide semiconductor shortage, saying it will persist through 2021, but also saying they expect it to recover to normal levels by the second quarter of 2022. The chip shortage started primarily with devices such as power management display devices and microcontrollers fabricated on legacy nodes at 8-inch foundry fabs, which have a limited supply. The shortage has now extended to other devices, and there are capacity constraints and shortages for substrates, wiring, bonding, passive materials, and testing, all of which are parts of the same supply chain beyond just the chip fabrications. These are highly commoditized industries with minimal flexibility and capacity to invest aggressively on short notice. It's not a matter of just building more factories because of the amount and demand of materials to build said factories. Here is what Kushinka Chahun, principal research analyst at Gartner, had to say. The semiconductor shortage will severely disrupt the supply chain and will constrain the production of many electrical equipment types in 2021. Foundries are increasingly wafer prices, and in turn, chip companies are increasing device prices. Apart from graphics cards, have you been affected by this recent shortage? Let me know below. I know for a fact Apple isn't. Lastly, in regards to that dating app and vaccinations, it seems that the White House has correctly assumed Americans don't want to perform a selfless act like getting the jab for their fellow citizens, unless it involves shooting guns, so even their own government knows they are fairly selfish. But the White House team believes that a promise of a lei will get them moving. The Biden administration today announced it has teamed up with 9 dating apps to add a vaccinated badge and visibility boost to user profiles. The campaign will be going live in the next few weeks. Can't wait to see what Scotty from marketing comes up with in Australia. Let me know your ideas below and we'll create a change.org campaign. And on that bombshell, it's time to end this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Tap the like button if you enjoyed today's video, then subscribe if you'd like to see more, and support us. Thanks for watching. Catch you all in another one. Bye!